Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at the BEC Low Carbon Charter, How Climate Change Disclosure Drives Decarbonisation webinar. I'm Denise from the BEC's Policy and Research team and your host today. Just for a few housekeeping rules, today's seminar will be recorded, so please feel free to revisit the content when the webinar is later uploaded to BEC's website and YouTube channel. And participants are all muted by default. If you have any questions or comments for our speakers, please use the Q&A or chat functions at the bottom of your screen, and we will address them at the panel discussion. So let me briefly introduce the rundown of today. So we will have two parts of the webinar. The first section, there will be some sharing from different speakers. Then we will go to the panel discussion and also the Q&A section. Without further ado, may I invite Mr. Dennis Wan, Regional Lead Corporate Engagement of CDP, to give us an overview of CDP climate change disclosure this year. Dennis, please.
Okay, I trust you can hear me and see my screen.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to give you an overview of CDP, climate change disclosure. Some of you will have already been through this exercise this year, but there's probably some of you who are coming along thinking, well, that was the first year and I watched it from afar, and I'd like to know more now what my co-respondents went through, what was found, what are the benefits of this. So really, I'm going to start from the top here and give you a bit of the history of CDP and climate disclosure from our perspective, just so that you see that big picture. So CDP was founded 22 years ago. Three of our founders, two gentlemen, one lady, sitting in a London cafe thinking to themselves, how do we save the world? And their first question was, well, who hurts the world the most? Who has the greatest environmental impact? It's not the three of them sitting there with their ceramic cups, trying to save plastic, trying to cycle more and use less cars. It was companies. They pinpointed companies as having the greatest impact on the environment in the way that those companies produce, in the way that they waste, in the way that they sell stuff that perhaps not everybody needs. So if we could ask those companies, what is it that you do? What is your environmental impact? And having looked in the mirror and thought, what's my environmental impact? How do I do better? Then that might encourage those companies who amplify the effect of individuals to do better. But why would you listen to us? We're just three people who are setting up an NGO. So the next thought that the founders had was, who's got power over the corporations, investors, banks, financial institutions, asset owners who lend money, who invest into the corporations. They're the ones who, if we go and form relationships with them, then they would ask the companies to give that data. And then we can just be an NGO that collects the data. And 22 years later, what the slide in front of you shows is that 700 investors, asset managers, the financial capital markets, controlling $130 trillion of money, that's 1.5 times global GDP, is asking, as of this year, close to 20,000 companies in aggregate, over half of the world's market capitalization, to disclose their environmental data and their plans to get better. And CDP has now, after 22 years, built the largest environmental repository of information across climate change, across forestry, across water security that the world has ever seen. And we feed that back. This is not just to gather the data. This is in order to feed the financial markets, to feed central banks, policymakers, regulators, to make the kind of rules which now come back and impact companies like yourselves. You are now part of that 18,700 or aspiring to also be like that. CDP has been at the heart of the environmental disclosure movement for over 20 years now. Everything on the left there that you see and fear as the alphabet soup of ESG, then CDP has been along for that ride. We have contributed, and we are the knowledge hub of TCFD. If you're not familiar with TCFD, if you're not familiar with science-based targets, if you're not familiar with lots of stuff on the left, then don't worry. CDP is here to help you. You've either been through the process this year or are aspiring to go to into the process next year. We are here to help with a learning by doing methodology. This is a page that again illustrates what I just described here. The companies or the entities which have authority to ask companies like yourselves to disclose are either investors or companies who have risen to be major buyers who are asking their suppliers to disclose, or nowadays even governments and jurisdictions are asking companies and areas to disclose as well. Those parties in the middle, that's you guys. You guys who are on this call right now, you find yourselves, you're either companies, your suppliers, who have been asked to gather your information across these themes of climate change and water security and forests. And the reason that TCFD and ISSB, again, this little alphabet soup that you've been fearing and hearing about are at the top there across these questionnaires, is that by answering the questions and being told this question helps you aspire to TCFD, this question will help you aspire to ISSB, then you'll find yourself answering the questions that will make you think, not just how am I going to do better, but how do I prepare myself for regulation? And the data then gets fed back to whoever asked for it in the first place. Now, in this particular initiative right here, you're all members of the Business Environment Council of Hong Kong. And they're the ones sponsored by HSBC who have been asking you to provide your data here. And what they're asking you to do here is not just disclose for the sake of disclosing, not just disclose because regulators ask you to disclose, but they are asking you to go on a journey towards your company doing better. If that first step that you take is to gather your data, is to answer the questions, is to disclose and be transparent about what you're doing to your peers here, to BEC who is asking you to disclose for your own betterment, for your own good, then the next thing you're going to think is, gee, I could do better. I could set myself targets. I could aim for targets. I could buy more renewable energy. I could really go the stretch. I could set a science-based target. That would be a target that's not just a target that is reducing because reducing is good, reducing waste is good, reducing carbon is good, but it would be a validated target that actually is in line with the science telling us that we must all pull together to try and limit climate change to 1.5 degrees. And so this slide here shows you disclosure that you're undertaking by having the courage to fill in the CDP questionnaires is in fact guiding you on a journey to doing better for yourself and also for your stakeholders, your investors and your customers. At the more amplified version of that is those things that you're that you have under your control, which in jargon are the scope 1 and scope 2, the things that are actually in your office, the things that you're actually buying as power, the things that you can make decisions and control yourselves is actually just a small snippet, a small fraction of how much impact your corporation actually has. All of those companies and customers even across your value chain that are not under your direct control, the impact of their environmental activities is multiples greater than what you can control yourself. It depends which kind of industry you're in. I know that there's all sorts of industries who are represented today, but somewhere in the middle there, if you were in hospitality and hotels, then the amount of impact in scope 3, which is outside of your direct control, could be something like 7 times. But if you're up in retail or apparel, then the impact could be 20 to 30 times. If by chance you're a financial institution who's listening in on this right now, then that impact of that multiple over and above what's under your direct control could be 700 to 1,000 times bigger in your financed emissions. So it's very important that we all get a control of what's under our direct control, because here's an insight. Scope 1 and 2, if you remember this, is under your control. And everyone who says scope 3 is not under your control, if you can get insight into that by challenging your entire value chain to get their impact under control, because everybody's scope 3 is somebody else's scope 1 and 2 put together. It's not as complicated as sometimes the papers and the headlines will make you fear. Today is scoring day. Today is actually scoring day, release of the scores of CDP worldwide. Some 20,000 companies have disclosed to us today. Many of them will have been scored. And this scoring is really just to help you along the journey. It's not supposed to be held like a gun against you. It's just supposed to tell you, this is how I'm doing and this is how I could do better. A D-ranking scoring doesn't mean that you've done badly. It just means that you've started the disclosure journey. And then as you move to the right and upwards, showing that your company is aware, showing that your company is managing environmental risk, then you could aspire to be a leadership company. The A-list companies, which will be announced today, are something like 300 or 400 out of 20,000 companies who have disclosed. It's hard to get there, but they will be the companies that are setting leadership practices that we can all learn from. Because if fighting climate change is a very scary topic, and not everyone can do everything, but everyone can do something, and fighting climate change is the ultimate team sport. And it might seem corny, but doing CDP disclosure and challenging your company to understand what you're doing is that first step to try and do better. The score means something. The score means a great deal to independent surveyors. Have had a look at the robustness of what you are contributing to. There's a lot of other names out there who are also scoring right now, but CDP is among the best, so that you know if you've achieved a CDP score, it is guiding you along the right way. You are now also part of a vastly accelerating journey right now. You can see that curve of how many other companies are joining in with you on the disclosure journey, taking those first steps, taking that direction to environmental stewardship. And in Hong Kong, at the top right there, I am delighted to say that you're going faster than the rest of Asia right now. There might have been 200% increase in disclosures in the last 3 years for Asia Pacific, but we've achieved 300%. And that is very much thanks to you participating in initiatives like this. Thank you to HSBC for sponsoring the BEC to ask you and provide you with this opportunity to start your journey. This is a recap of just how challenging that was. There's different modules in the questionnaire, which you've tackled now, and each and every single one of these modules was shining a light on something that you can have a better view on and decide how to do better with. This then is simply recapping that next year, then it's all going to happen again. So I look forward to hearing how you scored today. I look forward very much to hearing from the co-panelists today how that went, what those companies who have learnt with CDP along the way and challenged themselves, and how they've made themselves better by a journey of disclosure. Look forward to hearing from companies that did the questionnaire for the first time this year and what they learned. Very much look forward to many of you joining in the journey from next year. And a final slide, I hope, just about the fact that we see that there are some smaller companies out there. There will be an SME pilot coming soon, which will be a scaled down version. It might not make it into the BEC HSBC initiative that's ongoing right now, but you can look out for news about this so that companies of all sizes can join in the journey. Thank you for joining in 2022. Looking forward to 2023, and I'll be sticking around as the rest of the seminar goes on.
Thank you, Dennis. Next, we have Toby from the BEC Policy and Research Team, our Assistant Manager, to introduce the Carbon Disclosure Program under the BEC Low Carbon Charter and share with us BEC's experiences on first-time CDP disclosure. Toby, please.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Dennis, for introducing. So let me have a brief recap on BEC's Low Carbon Charter first. Low Carbon Charter was launched 3 years ago, and we now have more than 100 signatories in Hong Kong. We welcome companies or organizations in Hong Kong to participate in this charter to showcase their efforts or ambition in setting and achieving the decarbonization targets. We have 2 pathways for the companies, and pathway 2 is a more ambitious one that is tied with the SBTi target setting. As of September this year, we have 111 signatories, and we have 14% pledged to pursue pathway 2. And we are seeing more companies in Hong Kong to set more ambitious targets that are aligning with the science-based target initiatives. And we have also just published the Low Carbon Charter Progress Report 2021. It is already available online. So let me continue to talk about this program. So for the Carbon Disclosure Program, we are talking now here. So we are under the support of HSBC. We launched this program with CDP is our partner. The objective is to promote climate-related disclosure. So we would like to have more companies in Hong Kong to disclose their climate-related information. But actually, how does this work? So CDP receives requests from investors or customers that they would like the companies to disclose. So no matter you have received requests from investor or customers, you are still open to participate in this program. The difference is that if you are not requested by others, but you join this program, BEC will offer you to pay the administration fee for CDP. So you are free to use the CDP's online response system. So about the data access, CDP have options for you to choose public or non-public response. If you choose non-public response, only BEC and CDP's scoring team would have access to your data. And for company scores, the scores will not be available online unless you're chosen public or you are very good, you are on the A list. So actually, this is a very good opportunity for you to try out and get a taste with or understand the language of climate change disclosure in the CDP system. So in the review of this program 2022, we have sent the invitation to the signatories of the Low Carbon Charter. We received 41 responses, including BEC itself. BEC is also a signatory. And we will analyze the data collected so that to guide and provide insights for future climate actions for Hong Kong. So we will also talk about BEC's own response. So there are indeed quite some challenging sections in CDP. So first of all, CDP has its governance and risk opportunity sections, and we try to provide some information or data. However, we are not sure if these data is suitable to disclose, and although some of them you may already find them on BEC's website. But the timing is one of the issue we consider that we may need more time to ask for the approval for disclosure. So we actually did not fill in very much information in this two parts. For the section 2 is about risks and opportunities for companies under the background of climate change. So for BEC, we actually think it is an opportunity for us to create more impact and join hands with the community to promote the awareness and encourage companies to take action against the climate change. For the targets and performance, BEC has its own ISO 14000 and has its target. On the other side, we have programs for promoting or encouraging decarbonization, but our focus is on helping others to reduce their emission. For example, what we have included in the CDP submission is the Jockey Cup Clean Plus School project that we help the schools, secondary or primary schools in Hong Kong to obtain Clean Plus certifications and help them to improve the energy efficiency, etc. We are also working with the airport authority, so in a carbon capacity building program. And this is also a program that is very interesting to have to engage and work with the business partners of the airport authority. So we support different kinds of programs to help the business sector in reducing their emission. There are definitely challenges. BEC have its own sustainability report, and we have report our data or our description with the aligning with the GRI standards report. However, as I just mentioned, the readiness of data is one of the issue. We need to collect data from different departments. So in our report, you can see the data, what kind of activities we have organized, and say how many events or participants. These are some of the data we disclosed. And it is very important to have internal coordination or communication between different teams or departments so that you have a plan to gather all these different data and from the departments and make your emission calculation. Definitely, you would need some time for the reviewing the data and obtain the approval for your disclosure. So an early preparation is suggested. So looking forward to the next year, the low carbon charter is under rebranding now, and we will change it to the net zero carbon charter. And we are also updating the progress reporting form, and we would like to make use of the CDP's platform and synergize these two and reduce repeating efforts so that signatories and the participants of this program can have do less work for the responding. After this webinar, we will send you a follow-up email for you to express your interest in joining this program, and we will create a form for you to fill in your data. And please note this email. And thank you.
Thanks, Toby. Up next, may I invite Mr. Hendrik Rosenthal, Director, Group Sustainability of CLP Holdings Limited, to share with us CLP's experiences on CDP disclosure and its adoption of TCFT recommendations. Hendrik, please.
Great. No, thanks. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for having CLP join the session today, as well as really big congratulations, I think, is due for BEC and CDP and HSBC for collaborating on this initiative. I think the sort of support that's out there nowadays for corporates to provide this type of information has never been greater. At CLP, we've been looking at this we've been disclosing for 20 years. I think ever since we started, Dennis, ever since CDP started with their first information request, as I understand it, was in 2002. Maybe you could just go to the next slide. I'll just try to provide some sharing along the lines of what we're doing and how we tackle some of the questions that are within CDP. I appreciate that the task in itself, especially as a first-time reporter to CDP, can be quite daunting. The program, I think, that Dennis mentioned earlier for small and medium businesses sounds interesting, but that's not available till next year. It is a very sort of involved exercise, to be frank. I've been on both sides of the fence over the years in terms of supporting companies to do this sort of work, as well as obviously now working with CLP to provide CDP information. And we've done it well. Again, the score for this year has just come out literally like about an hour or so ago. We have an A-, which is, I think, one of the top scores in Hong Kong. And it's really great to see as well, though, that we're not the only one in Hong Kong that does have such a high score. There's been several new additions compared to last year to this level of disclosure and transparency and performance, actually, as well, in terms of managing the climate change challenges and demonstrating that to investors and stakeholders. We also have been disclosing to CDP water for a few years now, and there's some inherent challenges, I think, for the type of business that we operate, where some of our assets rely on fresh water indeed, and that is an inherent limitation for us to sort of push the score to yet a higher grade. So this is important to keep in mind as well as you go through this exercise, and as you, it's not just about providing information. It's not just about demonstrating that you're managing the challenges, but it is really about minimizing your impact, whether that's water or climate related. And that has to be very clear and really follow very much the process that's been outlined by CDP and the type of questions that are being asked and how those questions are then scored. It's very, very detailed. It was already, I think, some 10 years ago, I would say, when I was doing this on the other side of the fence. But it is even more sophisticated now in terms of how this is managed. I was asked also to speak about TCFD, so I'll just maybe on the next slide refer to that a little bit in terms of the alignment that has happened. So a lot of you, I'm sure, have heard about the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, and the sorts of information that they are asking or that they're recommending corporates to disclose related to governance, strategy, risk management, metrics, and targets. Those are the sort of 4 key pillars. And under each, you have to provide some insights as to how is climate change integrated into your governance process, and so on. And you go through those 4 sort of pillars. I mean, what's really helpful, and that has come through a couple of years now, I think, where CDP has aligned their questionnaire with the TCFD recommendations. And that in itself is really very helpful to reporters, for issuers, to just simply follow that. If you provide TCFD related information to the market with a report or parts of your annual report or as a standalone one, you are quite set and ready to go already. You should be, for your CDP work as well. So there's no need to sort of duplicate on that front. But it is really, in terms of emphasis that's being put out here, it's about the governance side of things. It's about how you manage the risk on climate. And it is about providing the market with some level of guidance of how you are looking at climate change itself, how it will change, how you expect the world to change from a physical perspective, from a transition perspective, how markets will be regulated, what could impact your business, and then fundamentally, how are you expecting to navigate these changes? That's really quite important. So it does require some level of foresight, not necessarily in a quantitative level, even though that's increasingly the big ask, but at least having some qualitative understanding of how you see your business evolve around actual changes to the physical environment and actual changes to your market realities, whether that's regulatory related or consumer expectations, customer expectation, or any sort of business type transitions that you could expect. So that's an important piece to keep in mind in terms of the alignment being there. But maybe if I just go on to the next slide and go a little deeper in terms of what we do practically at CLP, and then showcase sort of where that's featured the most. And as mentioned already, governance and risk is really two big pieces. And those are related to how the board has oversight, but also how we built a risk management process or essentially a risk register that enables us to track both the physical and the transition risk I just outlined, and how that is then managed internally. And we've put in place a risk register that's quite detailed on that front, but also we work across various departments to make sure that this is managed throughout the year, and that we are tracking any sort of changes in that space. If you, just by example, on the next slide, there is a chart that demonstrates how sustainability is governed, but by extension also then how climate is governed. So my role as the director for group sustainability at CLP is actually as a coordinating role. So that's the yellow line here. And I sort of report up and down on climate matters, and then to the group level sustainability executive committee. So that's the C-suite of CLP, including our CEO and CFO, where we really need to keep them up to date, not just on our disclosures and like how do we score on CDP. That will be the next agenda item in our February meeting, but then also more along the lines of how do we need to adjust our business strategy to mitigate our impact and be in line with expectations from the market, and how do we really make sure that we are addressing the key challenges that come with us, being a very, as an electric utility, our scope 1 emissions are, everyone else's scope 2 emissions, just to sort of play a little bit in terms of what Dennis was saying earlier. If we manage to reduce our scope 1 emissions to 0, the electricity that's then sent to customers, that's scope 2 for everyone else, is then effectively also managed. So that's a big job. That's a big task. We take that quite seriously. So that's really a sort of a big discussion item then at the executive committee level. But then by extension, we bring that for decisions and target setting and any sort of updates to our climate vision, as we call it, that's debated and deliberated at the sustainability committee, then ultimately signed off by the CLP board. So that's sort of how we work up, but at the same time, we do work across the organization via either direct interaction with the various functions and business units on different topics, whether that's related to asset retirement or to how we do procurement and sustainability procurement, for example. But then also at the same time, we have what we call a forum, a group sustainability forum, and that enables us to really stay up to date in terms of what's happening on the ground in each one of the business units, but then by extension also updating them about our expectations at the group level. So that's governance sort of explained in a couple minutes here for your benefit, but also this is what we then literally have to write down for CDP as part of the disclosure process. But for us, it's sustainability, and that by extension, as I mentioned, includes climate change. So that narrative is relatively straightforward, and it actually doesn't change that much from year to year either. That's an important piece to remember. It is something that you have to institute, and we live that sort of governance on a daily basis as we are part of the business here at CLP. And there's good reasons of why that is effective and has the right checks and balances. And then through that, then also meets the expectations and some of the scoring that's being asked for. So the scoring, and the process and the whole framework that's provided by CDP can be quite daunting, to be fair. But if you really look at it and look at what's being asked from you, it actually makes sense, at least from my perspective, to be instituting some of these things that are being asked for, because it will ultimately help you as a business to operate. Maybe if I can go to the next slide, not this one, the one after, yeah. Just one more highlight, just to go a little bit deeper in terms of what we do at CLP. It's fundamentally, as I mentioned already, about business strategy, which by extension then also includes our assessment of the risk and the opportunities, as well as scenario analysis. It is about setting targets. It is about developing a roadmap and adhering to best practice in that space. And we have science-based targets, and we have targets that are validated by SBTi. But it's also about having the right greenhouse gas accounting in place. So in order to set yourself a proper target, you do have to have obviously scope 1 and 2 emissions, but but you also have to have a very solid understanding of your scope 3 up and down your supply chain, your value chain emissions. And that is an exercise on its own. It did take us a few years to get to that point. And yeah, it is an important piece just to be able to understand where the biggest footprint sits in terms of your procurement. If I could just go to the next slide in terms of what that means in practice for us at CLP, it is about, as I mentioned already, our climate vision. So we set ourselves targets for 2030, and those are the ones that are then validated by SBTi, science-based. And we have similar targets for our 2040 in terms of the scope, but we also then have made commitments to accelerate the phase out of our coal-based assets for 2040. And then ultimately we end with a net zero target by 2050. So there's a fair level of complexity in this graphic here. But again, and this is what we do, we have a sort of mini publication describing that, about 15, 20 pages or so, I think it is. But in itself, that's the blueprint we need in order for us to be able to cater to the questions that CDP poses to us around strategy, targets, performance, your greenhouse gas profile. That is sort of the basics of it. So going in to fill out a questionnaire without having sort of a specific mindset of how is climate change actually impacting our business strategy, and have we considered the various challenges around that, and have we set ourselves some targets or a vision at least of how we can navigate the physical and as well as the transition risks that come with that change. I think that's really the first line of question that you should bring toward, you should consider before diving into trying to answer the questionnaire, and that in itself will answer, I think, a lot of the questions that you may have at an early stage of disclosing. For the next slide, just sort of to demonstrate, we have been working on this for a while, and we've actually collaborated quite a bit as well across different channels, and one of which is the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, which the Business Environment Council is actually part of. And we had collaborated with them on some work specific for electric utilities, specific for TCFD, and how companies should be reporting to that, and came forward with some guidance in terms of sort of what's best practice for TCFD disclosure. This is a bit dated at the moment. Actually, this was back in, I think we published this in 2020 or so. So we've come a fair way since then. And if you go to the next slide, what this has resulted in for us at CLP is that we, obviously we have an annual report, which is where the financials sit, as well as our narrative in terms of how sustainability or ESG is relevant from an enterprise value perspective. But and then the flip side of that being we have a sustainability report, which really is very much focused on describing the impact that we have and how we manage our social and environmental impact. We have, as for the first time, then issued a third report last year, which is essentially a TCFT report. It's a climate-related disclosures report, as we call it, that's based on both the TCFD as well as the ISSB, actually, the ISSB prototype at the time that was issued. So that's the International Sustainability Standards Board that has developed some new guidance or has consulted on in the last year in terms of what should be entailed, what should be part of a report that focuses on TCFD type recommendations, and what should corporates disclose for climate-related issues. That's where this has all evolved to since 2002. So yes, it's been a long journey. Our climate vision that I spoke to earlier, we first issued that in 2007. We've updated that several times since in terms of ratcheting up our targets and our commitment, our ambition. That we have streamlined our reporting to make it more accessible to our stakeholders, as well as also internally really driving home the message of how do we actually embed sustainability as part of our business, as part of our strategy, and not sort of having sustainability as a bolt-on or as something we have to talk about because that's everyone, that's what everyone wants us to talk about. It's more about how do we make this real within the business. And there's certainly challenges associated with that. And if you go to the next slide, and some of the pieces that we're still wrestling with is around forward-looking data. So if you look at what TCFD has asked for, and actually what's also being asked for by CDP, and that's the trickiest part of the whole questionnaire, I would say. It's about allocating dollars to the questions around how is this risk impacting your business, your ability to operate, your ability to generate value. And fundamentally, obviously, that's business sensitive, but it's also very difficult to estimate. And then the flip side, obviously, being the opportunity side as well. The ISSB is considering this also as part of their disclosure requirements. And obviously, that relates back to what TCFD had asked for initially with scenario analysis. And we've been really trying to push that as well internally to the extent it is a question about what is our current performance, how do we do in terms of managing physical risk, for instance, but what does that then mean for our portfolio in, say, 10 years' time? And what does that mean to our ability to generate value and to maintain our enterprise value, but also for our own ability to really create shareholder value, right? That's sort of the ultimate question. And if you then put several scenarios on there in terms of the physical changes, but also how you intend to transition your business, that's when you can start generating some figures. But all of this is quite challenging in terms of how do you get you to assure some of that. But this is where we sort of heading, this sort of cutting edge stuff. We're still managing that from our side, and it is an evolving space. I think that's the key message, but it's certainly not yet quite done in terms of figuring out how to go about some of the more challenging areas. The very basic stuff is what I mentioned at the beginning or earlier about just making sure to have a strategy, to have the data, to have your greenhouse gas accounting done. That's really quite fundamental. And maybe I could just close on the last slide. What's promising here, though, is that the ISSB that I mentioned already, and this is further to the whole alignment piece that's been brought forward with CDP as related to TCFD, but also as related now to ISSB, which is the climate-related disclosure standard I was referring to just earlier. The standard is expected to be issued, this ISSB standard, in first quarter next year, so in several months, not too far off, based on the consultation that was held last year. And I think at COP27, I think it was announced when CDP said they would incorporate the ISSB climate-related disclosure standard into their platform, which fundamentally makes a lot of sense because there wouldn't actually be, I don't think there would be a lot of changes because they've already integrated a TCFD piece anyways. But it is really good to see, though, that there is that open commitment for alignment and to really just make it a little bit less confusing for issuers and companies that report in this space. So I think that's a lot of sharing for now. I'm obviously happy to take some questions. I hope it was useful. And maybe we'll just sort of jump into the panel discussion as a next step.
Thank you, Hendrik. Now, let's move on to the panel discussion. Again, if you have any questions for the speakers, please feel free to type your questions using the Q&A function. May I invite Merlin, our head of the BEC Policy and Research team, to moderate the panel discussion. Merlin, over to you, please.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you again for Hendrik giving a very comprehensive their journey on disclosure and also TCFT alignment. Well, I mean, certainly there's a lot of information. If I take one step back, I think for today, our main purpose, or actually this program's main purpose, is to encourage company who has yet to start to consider climate change related disclosure to start trying on that. So that being said, we have actually two spectrum, right? We have the MNC, they have a lot of resources that try to fulfill the best standard that they could. But on the other hand, we are also having a smaller size or SMEs that they may be under more pressure for disclosure from the investor or supply chain perspective. So for this, today we also bring into first time disclosure partner in our program to share their thought with us, and then we'll go into some panel discussion questions after this. So we have two. One is Whiskery, which is a consultancy firm, and we have their managing director, Oswald, who will join us today. And also we have also a representative, unfortunately, Rafi, who cannot join us today. I know he's a subordinate, Gary Yao, from the Social Impact Program, that also joined us today to share about their thoughts. So the structure would be, we'll give each of these two panelists up to 3 to 5 minutes to briefly tell us about yourself. And I would like to particularly focus on your first time experience. May I first invite Oswald? Are you around, Oswald? You can start with this. I know you have some slides to share.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Hendrik. Yeah, you're such a great presentation, and yeah, we learned a lot as well. So at this part, we are sharing our experience about this program. First of all, I will introduce our company first. I'm Oswald, the founder of and managing director of Whiskery Consultancy Limited. About Whiskery, our main service is including the ESG consulting, green advisory, green event consulting, and green finance and such. Our company is, I think, we are the pioneer of private company, the SME maybe, to set the SBT, science-based target in Hong Kong. We are the first batch amount of 8 company at this moment. And also we are glad to be the sole carbon neutrality event partner and sponsor of the INEDA Hong Kong just the last Saturday. This is the first event by using the CCER and our gold standard to make the carbon offset or neutrality. We advise them to how to reduce the carbon emission during all the conference. And at this stage, our team is finalized the carbon emission at this moment, and we'll offset or retire the carbon emission at the end of the event after our calculation. Recently, yeah, I was fortunate to be invited as one of the panelists of the Sustainability Investing and ESG conference organized by the WGO and the United Nations on the week before. In earlier December, we were awarded another Green Management Award from the other NGO. Yeah, that is our recent, our company's news and update. Yes, Merlin, should I, yeah, as we discussed it before?
Yes, I think you have 2 more slides, right? On the disclosure part.
Yeah, I think that's enough. I think I'm very about to bore all the audience here. So yeah, that's our introduction. Yeah. short introduction.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually go straight to
Okay, good.
share with us 2 more slides on your disclosure journey, and then we come back to the questions.
All right then. Yes. Thanks, Merlin. And now we share our experience more to why we are willing to voluntarily to fill up the CDP. Yes. I think the CDP disclosure is a meaningful and visionary approach for corporates to show their contribution and support to sustainability and climate change. This is why we are willing to fill in the form for the applications. The consideration of the sustainability and climate change among the commercial and public sector is becoming more and more entire, which can be seen by the requirement and investment from the regulator and investor. For example, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange announced the climate-related disclosure aligned with the TCFT recommendation will be mandatory no later than 2025, 3 years from now on. The CDP disclosure aligned with TCFT recommendation as well. Also, the disclosure can also be used as a reference and checklist to understand and how to improve our ESG performance and management in accordance with the international standard. So, apart from the expressing our commitment of ESG, sustainability and corporate responsibility, the reason that drove us to join the CDP disclosure is to prepare ourselves to be familiar with the upcoming stock exchange reporting standard as an ESG consulting for the listed company and maybe for other private company in the future. We believe that in the coming up years, like 1 or 2 years, different stakeholders such as suppliers, client, upstream, downstream, business partner, financial institution, such like this event, the sole sponsor HSBC, we request the business unit to show their awareness on sustainability. For example, some of the financial institutions, they already started to taking ESG rating into account, or other sustainability materials into loan approval, the green loan or the sustainability linked loan, which loans are essential financing tools for SME to expand their business. SME will be affected by their circumstances, and they constitute more than 98% of the business establishment in Hong Kong. So if we are not getting well right now, otherwise we will see the gap difference and face challenge in the future compared to the others. Firstly, it involves different workouts such as information collection, consolidation, calculation, and so on. Because there is lots of the supporting document or different collection data from different kind of department of different part of the geographically. We are an SME that provides ESG consulting service, and our team of 4, we spent nearly a week to finish the CPD form from our recent past experience. Our team even have the carbon auditor and carbon trader and ESG consultant. So yeah, that is one of our, we want to share some of our hurdles when we filling out the form for the past few months. Lastly, it does not, during the completing the questionnaire, we think the interface maybe having improvement can be considered. First, it does not have a reminder for the unfiltered boxes before submission, as it looks as a few days to complete, and some questions need time to consolidate. The questionnaire was not filtered sequentially, so a reminder could enhance the completeness of the questionnaire and the reliability of the final grade. Besides the questionnaire requests filling some sensitive and confidential information such as the company revenue, we think an access right setting is essential to protect those information from multi-users. And also, we find that some questions are not easier to answer by some SME, such as the carbon pricing, the quantifiable figures of the financial impact due to the climate change, and so on. Therefore, for new applicants, it is quite challenging to finish in a short period of time by themselves, because I think most of the SMEs, they are not in the business of related to ESG consultant or with the carbon auditor within their own team. So yeah, that is the few challenge that we can share to our members, that when we are filling out the form from our past experience. That is why I suggest all of the members of the SME, if you want to start it, to fill it out the application, is as early as you can to start it, because time is really need to complete it for the disclosure, the data collection, and if you find it out, your team or the company, they don't have the expertise, and you also need the time to select the best or the most suitable external consultant to help your team as well. So the benefit of the disclosure may take a long time to reflect, but I think while we are filling out the form, again, in a short period of time, most of the SME may not see, or they may not have the experience to think about how good or what is the benefit from them in a short period of time. But however, from our ESG consultant background, I think the CBD would be bring for all of the SME or the companies have a long-term benefit, definitely. Because it's not just the short period of time, you may have some impact or some difficulty, I mean only the few days, or due to engaging a partner to help you to finish. But once you finish and you graded by the CBD, the investor, your upstream or downstream, your supplier may also need to follow the CBD. I think for the long run, the CDP grading would be a great benefit for all of you and I as well. Yeah, that is our experience sharing and why we are to try to filter out the CDP's form. Yes, the reason and yeah, our experience.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bernard.
Thank you, Oswald. We will also take 5 minutes from Gary to share some insight, and we'll come back to the questions after this. Gary, are you around, Gary?
Hello. Hi, Merlin. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much hi everyone, I'm Gary and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Rafi Cristobal, our director in the Social Impact and Sustainability Program in the Harbour School Limited. Yeah, we are first of all, we are so thankful that for having us today. Thank you, Hendrik, for the presentation, and also Oswald for giving some advice to the SMEs. So today, the Harbour School Limited is representing on behalf of the SME category as well. So our background for the Harbour School, we are actually a small international school in Hong Kong, operating 2 campuses in the Southern District. And we just recently won another campus in the Southern District in Tai Tam under the Heritage Revitalization Program of the Hong Kong government with our partner LifeWire Foundation. So today, like Rafi is not here, but actually Rafi is very passionate to promote education for sustainable development in Hong Kong. And he is keen to introduce ESG or SDG to the K-12 education sector in Hong Kong, which we think that actually it is underserved sector, and we actually which required more support and help from the public and private sector to help transform the K-12 sector to engage SDG, ESG, or any climate-related education and operation side. So and then I also want to say thank you to BEC for the opportunity for today. And also we all BEC members who participate in the Low Carbon Charter are very fortunate to have BEC and of course the sponsorship of HSBC to introduce us to CDP. And thank you, Hendrik just now remind about the release of the scoring. So we just check it. So we actually, as a first time reporter, we have received grade C. I think it's quite good for us already as a SME and a first time reporting. But I also want to share with you guys what drives our organization to go for CDP. So actually, it's definitely from BEC. We received their communication from them saying that there's a CDP program. While our school is also actually formally looking into the environmental aspects in 2021 after we launched this sustainability program. So while we are also planning and preparing a GRI reference sustainability report, so we take the opportunity to take part in the CDP disclosure exercise with the green light of our school management. Dr. Jadis Blurton is our head of school, which is also leading our directly working with our sustainability program team on the sustainability efforts in the school. So I think schools and SMEs may not be the first thought that people think about. I mean, when they come into mind when they think about organization that could bring impactful changes to sustainability. But I think just like schools, there are 800,000 K-12 students in Hong Kong. And I think also in SMEs, there are 45% workforce in Hong Kong private sector. So I think these organizations have the capability and the potential to become a significant catalyst for community transformation towards sustainability. So I think joining CDP disclosure is a very good stepping stone for SME to go with the trend of ESG and learn about this new knowledge of sustainable development, why there's it is a very comprehensive form, and it do just like what Oswald mentioned, it takes time to fill in. For our organization, we are very fortunate to have 2 full-time staff to handle this CDP reporting. It also takes around a week to complete. But I think during the disclosure, I think you can see why there's a whole industry coming out for sustainability reporting because of the comprehensiveness, but also I think each organization in every industry has a unique and strategic opportunity to grow the operation with ESG. And also want to here to say thank you to Bruno Learn of CDP, who really helped us to set up the account. Like we got some technical issue at first, but CDP has been very helpful on that. So I think I will like, I still have quite a lot to share, but I think I will shorten it a little. I think like SMEs in Hong Kong, the biggest challenge, I think, is the first challenge, main hurdle will be the manpower. That I think like we met a lot of not only education institutes, but also organizations that they only have one staff working like part-time on sustainability. And I think like without enough manpower internally, like there's not enough like planning, research, brainstorming, innovation, or that could like come out from like doing this CDP. So I believe that like the sustainability effort should come within the SMEs itself. It cannot 100% rely on consultants or advisors, external advisors. So I think like it really requires like, I mean, like comes from within. So like from a top-down approach. So the company will have motivation, and there's a sense of ownership to handle this CDP project, and also the other related projects that could link back to CDP. And like I think my other advice is the sustainability effort and CDP like disclosure should be led by the management for SME. So the mindset of sustainability can like trickle down from the top to the middle management and the workforce. And the management should lead by example to also contribute time and effort. So like, because it's additional tasks on top of the staff members, the existing staff members, but the management could show as a leader to learn together on this CDP disclosure journey. And I think the other advantage for SME during like doing the CDP reporting is it is, I mean, like there, of course, like the listed companies, they have a very strict compliance. There's a certain supply chains that might require to do the compliance. But in my opinion, I think there are still quite a lot of SMEs. They might not like still bound by the compliance side. I mean, so I think it's a very good time to start learning and accumulating experience before there might be certain other law enforcement or other kinds of guidance that comes from the government that or a certain industry to handle, I mean, sustainability reporting. So I think SME can be like take this opportunity that BEC and HSBC offer to really take a look at the CDP and try to work on it for this cycle 2023. But we also agree that it is actually quite challenging and consumes time. So I do agree with Oswald that like I think planning is the key here to really start looking at the CDP questionnaire and try to look at the I think it's very thought-provoking for our team as well, that like there's a lot of opportunities and potential opportunities that can come from, I mean, like that actually inspired like during the CDP reporting. Like there are a lot of knowledge that we don't know about before, but after the CDP reporting, you will do research and you will ask others. So I think like that's a very good learning process as well. And then I think my last words on this will be like it should be a whole organization approach for sustainability, for SMEs at least, in my opinion. And there will be more motivation to handle that. And also the last one is to really try to connect with like BEC or other business partners or like during sustainability events to learn from others and get connections as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary. We have some 15 minutes, so we'll go into and do some question discussion because I try to put things together. Actually, maybe to start with, I think one of the audience asked a question. Have some technical issue. You can. Hello, can you hear me well? Okay, yeah, I'm jumping around. So the first question is I'll just turn off my camera for now. It's jumping a little bit, but I don't know why. The very first question is actually about the benefit I think they asked, but the original question actually was targeting Hendrik, but I don't think that question was very applicable because Hendrik or CLP has already disclosed like some 10, 20 years ago. But let me maybe rephrase the question, right? Because at the end of the day, we are targeting the management. What is the reinforcing message that you have here? The strong benefit that you can convince the management that it is a good, I mean, if you think it is a good, actually to follow it up and actually to spend some effort in it. This question, I think, is open to all three of you to answer and give a message to our audience. Or maybe Hendrik, you can start first.
I'll just be quick. I think it's sort of a dual purpose that we can refer to. And one is fundamentally, the questions that are being asked of us is really helping us to push the bar. So as mentioned already, you know, the questionnaire has evolved quite a bit over the last 20 years. It has become increasingly sophisticated, rightly so, to really make sure that the corporates, that the business community is indeed coming in line with what needs to get done to mitigate our impact from a climate perspective. So the questions that come through are they're helping us. You know, it's an important benchmark. The scoring is useful in that sense that it helps us to understand how far we are from meeting that benchmark, right? And that you know should drive us to continuous improvement and to try to close the gap. So it helps to communicate then with the senior management in terms of where the gaps are. The scoring does have that purpose and it does help us with that. It's not for the sake of improving the score, but it's really fundamentally about what else do we need to do to come in line with expectations or to transform the business fundamentally in a way that helps mitigate our impact.
You, maybe Oswald, Gary, some wording from you.
Hi, maybe I share with all of you first. Yes, I think one of the very important question and always asked from the board of director of the boss is what's the benefit, right? Because I think most of the businessmen, even they're voluntary to do some of the charity what is the benefit from the we call it side effect, all right? How can they bring to the company? I think in this case for for the application for the questionnaire, what I said before is if your boss or your company is asked for a short-term return, this is not the one for the answers or for the best choice. But however, just like I've been an other panelist on the Saturday from the last Saturday with all the big four discussion. As I remember, one of the big four, they already set their all their supply chain management. They request, as I remember, until 2026. After this, they must be over 70% of their supplier is with their ESG performance from now on. So as what I said before, if your company or your bosses just think about very short term to ask you about why CDP is the best, or is that the best way to improve our ESG performance in few months, you can strictly answer no, but if you fill that out with a good grading, I think more than 5 years, 10 years, or even longer, you can use this grading, such like other international ranking as well. It's very reputable, and even your client or you as a supplier, it's not just from Hong Kong, not just from Asia, even in Europe or for the rest of the world, US, Japan, right? And just like as I remember, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Like the CSRD from the EU, they already announced that the big company has to be disclosed the ESG figures from the 2024, and also the medium and the SME, and from the 2025 and 2026. So if I'm not talking about the CDP is can fully fit the EU requirement from the CSRD, but if you have the ability to get a good grading from them, I don't think there's another hurdle from you or from your company. I think that is a very good initiative for the bosses who asking what is the benefit for your company. Yeah, that's my sharing as well.
Okay.
Yes, Vernon?
Okay. Gary, anything to add from you?
Actually, not much, because Henrik and Oswald, like, they're really professional in the field of sustainability reporting. But from our team's perspective, as in a like a SME, that the structure of is like normally like some employees will have the chance to directly reach out to the boss as well as the board of directors. I think like it is in fact a very critical chance or moment for those staff members who are advocating sustainability and would really want to bring this message to the board of directors. Recently, I met quite a number of people that we met, and when they talk to the board of directors, in fact, they really have big troubles in really like adding resources or budget, allocating additional budget to do sustainability work. That's definitely including sustainability reporting. Even like, for example, CDP, it will take like there's an admin fee, there's additional time for the workers to work on it. So lack of technical capabilities as well. So, and I think it really requires, it really requires like BEC or the government or other private sectors to keep on promoting the importance of CDP or related like carbon disclosure regime. Because from me, like for our sector, we don't have any regulation yet on doing such. So I think for those SMEs that are required, like they are foreseeing that the industry will be regulated soon on such disclosure on a national level or industry level, then they definitely should raise the awareness of the board directors to take a look at it.
Thank you. Maybe then actually I want to connect a question particular to Hendrik. So CLP, you have the scope 3 emissions target and vision. So essentially you need to work with your supply chain, right? I think just now Oswald also mentioned the supply chain pressure. So essentially back to CLP's case, like you have smaller suppliers or other partners. Are you going to ask them for disclosure? How does it actually work out in your corporate perspective?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, and it's also it's going to be it's quite challenging, our scope 3 profile, and how do we act on our scope 3 profile. Just to clarify, in terms of targets, we followed the Science-Based Target Initiative approach for electric utilities and the sector decarbonization approach. So our scope 3 target only covers category 3, and that's the emissions from the from our natural gas business in Australia, actually, just to be very direct. So that our customers' emissions when they use our natural gas. And that's a specific requirement that's set for electric utilities. We don't have a broader scope 3 target at this point. But what's really clear and what really helped us as part of our scope 3 profile and the methodology we developed for devising that and the findings we had from that was really zooming in on the big ticket items, right? Where's the biggest bang for the buck in terms of carbon reductions? And to sort of clarify one step further, the greenhouse gas accounting that's part of that, at this stage, we have not yet gone out to every supplier and asked them one by one, what is your carbon footprint of product X, Y, or Z? That would have involved over 6,000 suppliers at this point, and the task is simply not realistic. So we've developed a methodology that uses emission factors, where we go through each one of the scope 3 categories, identify which ones are material to our business, and then for each one of those that are material, have a very specific methodology to calculate that the greenhouse gas profile. A lot of it is based on procurement data, so based on spend. And we have emission factors that converts dollar figures to CO2 figures. This was developed together with a consulting partner, a greenhouse gas expert, and is validated or assured annually by our independent auditor, who does also the non-financial assurance for the rest of our ESG data. So, okay, so that's just sort of the background about scope 3 and what we've done so far. The next step for us is then to, as mentioned, to zoom in on the big ticket items. And for us, given the business that we are in, clearly it will be fuel purchases. So coal and gas in particular are the big items for us, where the mining, the processing, and the transport of that fuel to our plants, we have the biggest impact from a greenhouse gas perspective. Now the challenge is, how do we minimize that? And naturally for us, this profile would be managed by reducing the purchase of that. And that's inherently part of our strategy anyways. Reducing our scope 1 profile will then also manage our scope 3 profile. So that's, you know, one item to consider. There's a lot more complexity to that. We have just launched a supplier code of conduct, literally, in the last few weeks. We are going to go drill down to the big suppliers on a case-by-case basis, or step-by-step, in terms of asking them a number of different criteria to adhere to from a CLP perspective, and that includes greenhouse gas emissions. And we hope to report some more progress in this space in the next year or two, but it's going to be some time until we get to the bottom of it. It's no easy piece.
Thank you. I saw Dennis, you raised hand. Some commenting from your end?
Sure. Well, first of all, Hendrik, I'd like to offer you our supply chain program, talk offline. But secondly, I'd actually like to address the prior question, and I'd like to address it with a story. I mean, what's the benefit? How do you convince your board that there is a benefit to undertaking the CDP process? And first, I'd want to thank Hendrik for being with us for 20 years as the size of company you are. I want to thank the SMEs here, Ristori, Harbour School, for facing the challenges that you faced. But you've all said the right words. It takes your resource. It is thought-provoking. And I'm going to answer, what's the benefit with a story? Merlin, I'm going to need your help here. How much do you know about Harry Potter?
How much do I know about Harry Potter? I mean, I watch many of them. So.
No, but you don't know everything? Do you know everything?
Of course, no.
You don't know everything. You don't know all the canon. You don't know all the literature. You don't know everything that there is to know about Harry Potter. And in the same way, to be honest, Hendrik really teed me up with this when he started talking about scope 3, category 3. And many of you went, what's that? Which one's that? You don't know everything about climate science. You don't know about everything about climate literature. But what we have built after 22 years of this questionnaire growing up is a questionnaire that distills all climate science and all of the advice into a questionnaire, a business-friendly questionnaire that you just read and answer. Why did I ask you about Harry Potter? Because Merlin, if you did come across a 10-question quiz on the internet, and that first question was, what are you going to do if you're confronted by a monster? Do you use a spell? Do you use a wand? You would answer that. You would be able to answer that. What would I do in that situation? And the next question, and the next question after that. And the end of the 10 questions, Merlin, you would be put in Slytherin house. That's your score. And you would say, I don't want to be in Slytherin house. I want to be in Ravenclaw. What way do I answer the questions differently? Think differently, do something different. And next time that you do it, Oswald, the next time that you do it, not this time, not a short-term answer, you'll be in Hufflepuff. And the next time after that, you might get to Ravenclaw. And that's what the questionnaire is. It will challenge you to think, what are the right things to do for my business here? So that you don't have to understand TCFD and ISSB as such. Our questions ask you, what would you do in this situation? This practice would be aligned with ISSB. This practice will be aligned with best practice. So engaging your supply chain is the right answer. And in that sense, to all the participants, I hope you realize that it's tough, but it is going to be challenging you to run your business better and better.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. I first want to thank Hendrik first. He needs to sign off now, but I will take one more question. I think, well, yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot. I'm really sorry. I have to go jump on another call, but I really appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I will take another question. I think it's very practical for the first time people to try it, because one of the concerns from actually many of the SMEs or companies, they would not start with it because they are afraid that they are not doing well. So that means it's too panic to start with. That being said, what is the approach here in Harvard School, right? You mentioned you got C in the first time. And how do you push this in the agenda? And same question for Whiskery. I think common question from actually the other people, first time people who decline to join this sharing is they are not very confident of what they are going to share. Tell us a little bit more about your case, and then I will wrap it up for the webinar section. Maybe Gary.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Merlin, for the question. I think it's yeah, actually, just like I continue what I mentioned previously, is to persuade the management to our board to go for CDP. Like they also want to do it like in the best. I mean, they want to show the best because there's a ranking. I think like the main thing, I mean, as mentioned also previously, the management has to take the helmet on this CDP exercise. And I think like as a first timer, I think it's just like what other panelists mentioned also, like it's not about the ranking. It's actually more about the learning process during the CDP. And also like how you will get like new insights and inspirations, like when you are looking at the CDP. And actually like it's just like Dennis mentioned earlier, like the word thought-provoking, that actually like gives I think any SME in any industry, they could like find those questions like might give them some insights on a short term, on a long term opportunities for their business. But I think like my last point here is I think sorry about that. I think like the main Sorry about that. The traffic. The main point here, I think, is like the management should, when they approach the CDP, they should have already certain goals in their mind, including short-term and long-term. When they incorporate the sustainability and ESG in their business, what they actually want, what are they ambitioning, what they want to achieve for this trend, like along this trend, like what do you want your business to grow together with this trend? And then if you have that picture, then when you answer this CDP, then you will understand why, just like what Dennis mentioned, you will know why they are asking those questions, because that is the climate related issues or initiatives, those that all the listed companies are taking the front seat to drive the whole world to change. Also, of course, the government as well. So yeah, like have them like think deeper, I think, for management to think like, or work together with the whole organization, with those people who are passionate about sustainability, talk to them, and then think about a vision for the organization itself, and then take a look at the CDP. And then I think it will bring them some good, thinking process.
Thank you, Gary. Oswald?
Yeah, just a few words. Yes, like Gary, I think you don't need to worry about. Why I say this, because the first thing is you need to know why or what is the purpose your company need to for the application or to fill out the questionnaire. Once your purpose is fixed from the bosses or from the board of director, all right? And the next thing, I think, just very easy to let you know, okay, all bosses of the board of director, okay, you think that is a very good destination from our company, right? There's no free lunch. And then to get their budget, okay? Whatever your internal staff, the manpower, or maybe you need to engage an external partner. Of course, like Gary said, I think you need to engage a consultant with experience with the CDP, right? If no experience, how can you help you? How to assist you, right? Yeah, our company has the experience, of course. Yeah, and I think, right, Dennis, right? And I think not just for the consultant, not the external or internal. I think very important thing is the CDP as our experience. Mr. Bruno Land, he helped us a lot, because some of the requirements that we are not quite clearly what data or how long or how short a description that we need to fill that out. So Bruno is helped us a lot. And also I know because they got the scoring guide, and you just spend such a little bit of the fee, and the CDP will help the applicant to solve most of the question. I think so. The first thing is just confirm your company or your bosses to know you want sure to go ahead. If yes, just a little bit amount of the budget, and then all the way through whatever internal external consultant or CDP, yeah, they were very helpful. Yeah, that's what I say.
Thank you. I think we are coming to the end, but Dennis, you want to say a few words before I close up?
I think I've said them throughout. Thank you so much for participating, and we look forward to seeing you next year. And in the meantime, please do reach out to CDP if you've got any questions. I think I dropped my colleague's name in, your account manager, Elim Kwok, and do reach out, please. Thank you.
Okay, then let me do the final closing. I will just use one quick slide for everyone. So to sum up, it's not one-off event. I think the very first next step we will do, we are considering an in-person event to share the overall Hong Kong companies, the status of climate change disclosure, like as an aggregate performance in Hong Kong so that our peers can understand what it is going to be like. We are planning this early next year. And that being said, my second point is that this program, together with HSBC and CDP, we continue for another 2 years. That means we'll reach out to recruit eligible companies to join us. When I say eligible, it's like, I think Toby mentioned, if you are not already requested by investor, then you can probably join us for the program to sign up the next year disclosure cycle. Don't worry about this now. We will send out some more details regarding the expression of interest later. And of course, you can get in touch with Toby and Dennis who are supporting this program. And finally, I think we receive a lot of messages and we are not able to unpack further. And like Dennis and CDP mentioned, the SME support. And actually many SME asked us as well. And also today our webinar is conducted in English and some of the SME may have language difficulties. What we know is that CDP has some Chinese support component over there. We are trying to see whether we can get some localization in Hong Kong to help some of the SMEs that may be with some language difficulties in a sense of climate disclosure. And of course, under the new upcoming rebranded Net Zero Carbon Charter of BEC, we will continue to push, let's say, a technical topic workshop. For example, some of the chapters here that our audience may feel particularly interested. For example, in the past, we particularly did some sections on targets and performance. So stay in touch with our EDM, stay in touch with this program. And I think that's it for today. Last but not least, thank you everyone for joining this section.